Is there a chart or a graph that shows the amount of therapy that was given to children over the years now versus the past?
So we know that it's gone way up. I don't know if there's a chart, but I know that they say 40%, roughly 40% of the rising generation has had therapy. That's a lot. It's way more than any prior generation. 42% of them have a mental health diagnosis. That's a
42% of kids have a mental health diagnosis?
Yeah. Do you know
42?
There was just a news article saying that 86% of them think they have menu anxiety.
Menu anxiety?
That's ordering from a menu in a restaurant.
What?
They have a friend order for them.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, these are kids who think of themselves as unwell.
Menu anxiety? Really? That's a thing?
Climate anxiety, summer anxiety, when your parents move, dislocation depression. They call it
summer anxiety?
Summer anxiety.
So here it is, 42% of Gen Z diagnosed with a mental health condition. Jeez, Louise.
That's a lot.
That's crazy.
Right?
But that's what my question would be, was like, what is that internationally? Like when you're dealing with other countries.
Oh, it's much better internationally. I mean, there's no question we have the most anxious and most depressed teens and adolescents.
And what caused that? Is that the rise of this industry? The rise of the therapy industry? Is it something that is in the zeitgeist where people in this culture sort of gravitate towards that sort of thinking, that therapy and talking it through is very important? Like, what is it?
I think we're not giving them a healthy life. And that includes, it's like, remember they used to give us with sugar cereals? They used to say like there'd be a bowl of sugar cereal and there'd be like eggs and toast and orange juice. And they would say, Frosted Flakes, part of a nutritious breakfast.
Right.
Right? And we knew it was bad for us, but we had these other healthy things around us.
I don't think we knew it was bad for us when I was a kid.
Frosted Flakes?
I never thought it was bad
really?
for you. Well, we didn't know sugar was bad for you.
Well,
we thought it'd give you cavities. That was the only thing anybody worried about.
But I mean, kids weren't allowed. I mean, at least in my house, we weren't allowed to have sugar.
I'm a little older than you. I'm 10 years older than you.
Okay, so we weren't allowed to have sugar cereal, and the best thing we ever got was Honey Nut Cheerios. That was like a miracle. When that came in, it was so exciting.
We used to put sugar on our Frosted Flakes. You were allowed to have sugar and put sugar on everything.
I love that.
Yeah, in my generation, people ate sugar all the time, and there was no fear. It was just brush your teeth. I know it's psychotic,
yeah.
But obviously you know the story behind that. That was all because of the sugar industry bribing scientists to pass the blame on saturated fat. Yeah, because sugar was causing heart disease. It was causing all sorts of problems that people were having. It was causing obesity. And the sugar industry bribed some scientists in the 1960s to pass the blame onto saturated fat. And that's where margarine came from and all the other stupid shit.
Right.
It's terrible for you.
Right.
Seed oils, all these different things. Canola oil that people thought was actually better for you.
Right.
But it's not. It's not better for you at all. Your body doesn't even know how to digest that shit.
Right. So we've given kids worse diet over the years. We've given them,
processed foods.
Yeah. We've given them less exercise. Mm-hmm. We've given them less connection to family, people, relational stability, having this set of friends or relatives who are cousins around you, grandparents who love you unconditionally over your life. Kids don't have that anymore. They don't have the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And they don't have space from mom monitoring them or another adult she's hired to monitor them or the recess monitor, or my kids have bus monitors. They have monitors everywhere. And monitoring is the same as stress for kids. Wonderful academic psychologist Peter Gray told me this, that when they want to introduce stress to a subject, they introduce monitoring because it's the same thing.
Really? So if they have a subject and then they're going through a test and they have someone stand over and watch, that introduces anxiety?
That'll introduce stress. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the condition we're raising kids in. We're going to track you on your phone even in college. Oh, how is your trip to the Rite Aid? I can see on my phone. We're doing that.
Yeah. Kids are doing it to each other.
Kids are doing it to each other.
Yeah, my daughter's, all her friends know where everyone is on Snap Map.
Right. It's not good for them. They don't have freedom to just be.
Yeah.
So I think we're giving all kinds of things for making their lives less healthy. And then we just pour in the mental health resources. Oh, we're going to keep your life unhealthy, but we're going to pour in SSRIs, antidepressants. We're just going to pour in the therapy. Well, that doesn't remediate.
Have you had anybody push back on this? You said the response has been overwhelmingly positive, but what has the negative response been? So
I think that some parents feel like, it seems to be mostly moms, but some of them feel insecure, like, well, you don't know, my kid really had sensory deprivation issues, so I really did need to see that therapist. But I don't know the situation. I mean, I think in general, parents know their own kids, right? And if they have tried other things, the problem is not parents seeking out help. The problem is it's when it's the first resort. The problem is not that parents ever allow their kid to get a diagnosis. The problem is that some parents are going diagnosis shopping because the kid, sometimes a neuropsychologist will say, your kid's, sorry, they're within normal range, and the parents will keep going. And they're doing it because they don't have, sometimes they're unwilling to be an authority in their home, maybe because they feel that that's traumatizing. They're unwilling to impose any kind of discipline. The kid is disordered. The kid has a lot of tech. And then lo and behold, he can't concentrate in school. And the teacher has a problem with him. Well, I talked to parents where they said 1 year my teacher thought my kid had ADHD and the next year they didn't. Why would that be? And why is the teacher diagnosing the kid?
Yeah. Are they qualified?
Are they qualified? Well, they're a little conflicted, right?
Yeah.
Because they have an interest in getting you bolted to your seat.
Right.
They don't care about the long-term effects or they might not be aware of them, the long-term effects of Strattera, Concerta, Ritalin.
Yeah.
The fact that you might need to take more and more of it over time to get the same effects. The withdrawal for some of these things, Adderall, people have told me it's brutal.
Yeah, it's brutal. Well, it's amphetamines.
Right.
They're highly addictive.
Right.
And we're giving them out like candy.
Like candy. That's the problem. It's the like candy part.
There was a recent study that said 39 million. What is the number of prescriptions per year of Adderall? It's something bonkers when you really know what Adderall is. And essentially, this is like what they were doing in the 1940s with crystal meth in Germany. They were giving it to soldiers. They were giving it to people. They were giving them methamphetamines because methamphetamines make you more alert, makes you more hyper-focused, makes you more productive, makes you more willing to engage in things. And it's an unnatural stimulant that you're adding to someone's mind, and you're getting a result, and you perceive those results to be positive because they fit along with what we're looking for in terms of outcomes.
Right.
But you're not thinking of the long-term consequences of ramping up someone on fucking amphetamines all day long. What's the number? Oh, okay, even worse.
Wow.
41.4 million Adderall prescriptions were dispensed in the U.S. in 2021, up more than 10% from 2020, according to IQVIA, a health research firm. What's happening? Getting a diagnosis of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, which can be treated by Adderall and other stimulants, got significantly easier during the pandemic. A wave of telemedicine startups hit TikTok and Instagram with advertisements suggesting that people who look into ADHD medication if they felt distracted. By the way, that would have been me. If this shit was around when I was a kid, I'd never paid attention in school. And I would have probably thought that I had a disease. Some startups diagnose people with ADHD and prescribe stimulants after 30-minute video calls, entirely remotely, and much faster than a typical diagnosis from an in-person psychiatrist, the Wall Street Journal reports. Yes, but the trouble with such rapid diagnoses is that it can be difficult to tell whether ADHD is actually the problem. Anxiety can present as ADHD, and depression can present as ADHD. Sanford Newmark, a professor at University of California, San Francisco Medical School. Of course. I mean, look, if you give someone stimulants, they're going to feel better. That's why people do coke.
Right.
It makes you feel better.
And what if you start them on it when they're 4 or
Right.
5? And guess what? There are a lot of jobs where ADHD might not harm them. In other words, it might even be an asset.
Oh, it's
right?
a superpower.
I think it can be. I mean, there's an amazing piece in the Wall Street Journal by a guy who argued that in the military, in venture capital, where you're constantly checking, other companies or constantly looking into, someone who's constantly shifting their focus turned out to be an asset, unmedicated.
Well, I think that the idea is that it came from hunter-gatherer tribes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. What is it? See if you could find that ADHD, that the trait emanated from hunter-gatherers. The thing is, like, a lot of ADHD people, if they find a thing that they really enjoy, they get very focused on it.
Right.
Which is what was the thing with me.
Exactly.
I thought that because I couldn't pay attention in school, that I was going to be a loser. A recent review of the evidence by child and adolescent psychiatrist Annie Swanepoel, how do you say that?
I don't know.
And colleagues made the case for the latter. they argue that ADHD traits likely evolved in early human environments that rewarded exploration, novelty seeking, and movement, such as nomadic and migrating communities. Wow. Yeah, it's probably how you stayed alive. And if you were strapped down doing something really fucking boring, that seems completely unnatural, which is part of the problem with children in the first place. We're subjecting them to 8 hours a day of doing something you don't want to do because they say it's for your mental development. And what they're essentially doing is teaching you how to do something that you fucking hate so that you will be able to do that for the rest of your life.
Right. And you know what they could do with those kids? Give them longer recess.
Well, they also could tell them that there's other things you could do for a living. If you could find the thing that you actually enjoy and focus on that. And that was the thing that I didn't know until I started doing things outside of school.
Right.
I didn't know that there was things that I could excel at because I actually enjoyed them. And I would focus on those things and get very good at them. And I didn't know that that was a part of me. I had never been told that. Everybody was just like, if you can't do this, you are going to be a loser. If you can't sit and pay attention to this boring-ass teacher, teach this boring-ass thing that they have no emotional investment in whatsoever.
Right. And it was never true. That's the thing. You were incredibly successful, despite what they said. But imagine if they had said to you, actually, there's something wrong with your brain. It's called ADHD. You need a pill so you can be like everybody else. Yeah. Would you have had the same motivation to go keep looking for what you were good at and what you were passionate about?
No, I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have been medicated. If I had the wrong parents at the wrong time in history, I probably would have been medicated.
Right.
And who knows, I probably would have some fucking horrible job where I couldn't wait to get to my pharmacy so I could refill my prescription because I'm running low, and I talked the doctor into ramping up my Adderall.
We're putting 7-year-olds on Lexapro.